All right.
Okay, we are recording, so we're going to go ahead and do some introductions of our facilitators today. I'm the first on the screen and my mic's unmuted, so I get to talk. I'm Dave Blanchard, the Director of Online and Distance Learning here at St. Cloud State.
I'm Amanda Otero. I'm a Digital Resource TOSA in District 196, Rosemont, Apple Valley, Egan.
And I'm Jen Hegna, Tech Director for Byron Public Schools in Byron, Minnesota.
So today we've got a great agenda set in place. We're going to be having some welcome and updates from one of our fearless peer leaders, Donna. We have Dr. Dillon Martinez from Winona State, who is going to be doing practitioner showcase and a tool highlight embedded in one, which is going to kick us off into some human-centered design in action. We're really excited about this, especially within this topic. We have a couple of people on our facilitating team who have done D-School training a couple years ago to help really center this process and revision it for a fully virtual and AI-centered conversation. And then we're going to be doing some reflections and takeaway. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and slide over to Donna.
Actually, this is just an icebreaker question. If AI could take one task off your plate tomorrow, think of all the things that we are doing with AI, but if it could take off one thing off your plate, what would it be? Go ahead and drop that into the chat. Ooh, grading. That's a big one for, yes. I agree with the emails too. Scheduling. Oh, I like that. Lots of emails. General tech support. Troubleshooting. Awesome. Ooh, Sean wants to disrupt the entire plate. Analyzing large sets of data, all great things. And so thank you, and keep on adding to the list. And for sure, these are all great things that, it really helps. I do like the making dinner. That would be great. Eventually the robot probably will be able to be hired to, or in our homes to make dinner. But so keep on adding to this, because we can use this as a group, as MNGAIA, because we get the chats back. And so if there are things that, everybody's struggling with, like, what are the solutions to those things? All right, so next slide. Let's give it away for Sean and Donna.
I'm only on top because it's in alphabetical order, so I'm actually going to let Donna kick things off. But I'm Sean Beaverson, Director of Technology for Orono Public Schools. And I'm going to introduce Donna too, because she's having a difficult time getting off mute, I think. I could just say so many nice things about her right now, and she can't interrupt me. Donna has really been one of the people behind this entire effort and is incredibly dedicated to thinking about how all of this disruption with AI can be human-centered and a benefit for us, and has really been deeply engaged in this work at a whole bunch of different levels. So we'll wait. She'll figure out how to get unmuted and introduce herself. Dave, if you want to go to the next slide, I feel like it's appropriate. This is a poem I received from a friend of mine during the middle of the pandemic, and I think it really fits. And I just love, as a former English teacher, the opportunity to start with a poem. So I'm going to read this to you all. It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work. And that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is the one that sings. So as we think about the level of engagement, the work, the number of people that are working on this, the people that I know in this list, we have the right people with the right experience now to do this in a way that really is interesting, is thoughtful, and is supportive of the children in the state of Minnesota and us and our colleagues. So it's very exciting to start this second year in MNGAIA, and I'm really grateful that you all are here. And so is Donna. And then this is the MNGAIA roadmap. And so I'm going to speak on behalf of Donna again, but anyone else can jump in too. But so personally, I heard about MNGAIA as the Thought Leader Conference was ramping up for June of 2024. And I was really excited about the people that were presenting and what was going on. And so that was my first experience with MNGAIA. Again, St. Cloud recognizing that something needed to happen and some way for us to all be connected. And so they took the lead on that. And then from that experience, there was a agreement that this is probably pretty important stuff and that we probably should remain connected through the school year to help us define what our principles are, what our mission is, what do we want to say about the state of Minnesota in the world of artificial intelligence, and how can we partner with MDE? And that really is what last year was about. We did a lot of work in defining what our principles are, the non-negotiables, what we want out of artificial intelligence in the state of Minnesota and its support and education. And many of you through the chat, I can see were with us last year. We met once a month on Fridays. And then really exciting, St. Cloud hosted the second annual, and now we can say it's annual because it happened twice, the second annual Thought Leader Conference on AI and up in St. Cloud. And that was an amazing experience. If you were able to attend, why don't you just put it in the chat too that you were able to attend so we can see the other people that were there. That was a really inspiring experience for us. And we left with new ideas and new ways to connect. And again, Donna has been leading this. It's the best because she can't talk back, so I can just keep saying nice things about her.
I can now.
Oh, look at that. All right. So anyway, Donna will talk about how that led to this understanding that we probably needed to create a broader organization and have been doing the work to form a nonprofit. Donna.
Nice work. Welcome, everybody. And I just want to say I'm just astounded at the collective intelligence in this virtual space today. And that is really what we're here to do with the AI for Min and MNGAIA exchange, if you will, as Sean has kind of talked me into calling it that. And, you know, we are hoping that these monthly Friday meetings lend themselves to being really fruitful for all of you and for all of those who can't make it here because they have other obligations, are in a district that's too small and they can't take the time, but at maybe some other time could come and see, you know, our resources and lean on us to support them through the integration of AI in their districts. I think we are going to do some really awesome collaborating today using a human design centered process that Jen and Dave and Amanda created for us. And when we're in those spaces, we just want to remind everyone we do have norms that we have highlighted in the past at these meetings. And so, you know, of course, we want to make sure that we are stepping up and stepping back and making sure all voices are given an opportunity in those spaces, as well as just assuming positive intent and, you know, all those sort of respectful conversation things that we need to be doing. If there is a particular norm someone would like us to consider, either now or after this experience, I would encourage you to share that, and we can certainly make sure that that's included in our process going forward. I do want to say that we are working on lots of structural things for MNGAIA. One of them which is our privacy pledge. Because as an entity that is gathering a lot of data from you all and learning from it, we want to make sure that you understand that our aim is to always protect that, make sure that you know that we are going to be intentional and operate with the highest level of integrity around any of our data collection. And that we would ask if there are any industry folks on the call, and if you are deciding to use any of the information gathered through these MNGAIA forum sessions, that you just appropriately make sure that it's contributed to all of the great thinking that happens in this space. And yeah, and just, I think every time we meet, we want to make sure we just touch on what's our responsibility with AI use and integration into our systems. And so you're going to hear a lot more about responsible use and just the ways in which we are creating safe, ethical, climate, culture, space in our classrooms, our schools, and our district to learn fast and act very intentionally around the use of AI. And so those are kind of the things that I wanted to mention at the beginning of this meeting. Am I out of time? How am I doing, clock keeper? Okay. Yeah, and I'm just super excited to kick this off this year. I think it's going to be a great year. We have lots in store for everybody. We just want to make sure everyone knows where to come. And so whatever snafu we had with the link this morning, I promise you we won't do this again. Okay.
Thanks, Donna. And Sean, appreciate that update.
Okay, so it's my pleasure to go ahead and introduce Dr. Dillon Martinez. Dr. Dillon Martinez is the director of the Adapted Physical Education Teacher Preparation Program at Winona State University, where he bridges innovative technology with inclusive design. As a thought leader in the educational AI applications area, Dr. Martinez has presented nationally and has published work using artificial intelligence to enhance differentiation, support pedagogical decision-making, improve coaching practices, and revolutionize educational delivery. His work focuses on making AI accessible and practical for educators at all levels. I'm very excited to be a peer with Dillon. We both have a doc from the same university down in Winona. And Dillon, I'm going to go ahead and pin you to the screen. Make sure you've got sharing abilities, and then we'll be able to get you started.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that introduction. You are now co-host. Very good.
Yeah.
Ready to present? Present now. Open system settings, of course.
Those system settings can be tricky on the first round sometimes.
Allow. Quit and reopen. Uh-oh.
Well, we lost Dillon for just a moment as he's restarting and getting that email back. I'm going to send him the link just so he's got that as a quick access. And one of the best things about having state computers is we can't change anything. This morning when you told me, Dave, go ahead and share the screen, I was like, I am surprised I got a webcam right now. So as we work through Dillon's presentation, Dillon, there we go. As Dillon works through getting his presentation up, we are going to be doing right at the end of it a preview of some of the human-centered design conversations. So think intentionally through Dillon's session and listen intentionally. Take a step back and think through how might these practices impact students, how might these practices impact other learners, other peers, really just thinking about the human at the center of each of these. And Dillon, you're pinned again. You've got screen sharing, perfect.
Heck yeah. Okay. Hello, everybody. Like Dave said, my name is Dillon Martinez. I'm a professor in Winona State in the teacher education preparation program, specifically in adaptive physical education. So one of my passions is differentiated instruction. Something that I tell my students all the time is special education and teaching to the individual is just good education. that should be blanketed across every domain of education, not just as it pertains to special education or adapted physical education. But in order to do that really well, it's a very heavy lift. And sometimes differentiation has been referred to as the differentiation dragon, because it is something that we as educators have had a very hard time slaying. So hopefully after my presentation today, you will be a little more qualified to slay said dragon. So we'll admit them. Before we get going too far, I want to include in the chat, actually, you know what, I'll do that at the end. In the chat, I will link this presentation so you can have access to it. And I will also link the digital handout that I've created for you all to have as a resource. So let's see how well this works. Perfect. Okay. So the challenges we face as teachers as it pertains to differentiation. So from now on, I'm just going to reply to differentiated instruction as DI. There we go. One, we need to understand as holistically as possible the readiness of our learners. So that includes the prior learning, cognitive aptitudes, the skill level as it pertains to the content we're talking about, the interests, what motivates them to learn on an individual basis, which is hard to do if for the special ed world, if you have a caseload of 80 students, or if you're a general education teacher and you have 10 classes of 30 students, very difficult. Learning profiles, research around learning styles has been kind of debunked, but what hasn't been debunked is that multiple means of instruction is beneficial for all students. So we need to know how they like to learn, the communication, and the cultural factors that can play into that as well. And then we need to understand the reality that if what I'm saying is every individual student deserves individualized, differentiated instruction, that technically means we're supposed to provide 30 plus different lessons in a session, which is pretty much impossible. So the solution is to leverage AI to make differentiated instruction scalable and successful. So hopefully at the end of this presentation, my goal is for you to be able to have the tools needed to do just that. Okay, so these are my views for the 3 principles that we as educators need to adhere to. 1, we need to be ahead. So something that I have discovered in my role in higher ed is if students think that I know more about AI than they do, they're going to be less apt to try to use it in a negative way. So very easy example of this is I will tell them, I'll give an assignment and I will tell them ways that they could cheat on that assignment using AI to help them know that I know exactly what to look for. And a lot of times when I say these things, they're like, oh, I never would have even thought of that. And I was like, okay, but now let's take that idea of how you could have used it for bad and how can we use it now to increase critical thinking? So I never want to make my students think that I am anti-artificial intelligence. I just want them to use it appropriately and to benefit them from an educational perspective. Secondly, we need to be open. AI can improve our teaching effectiveness. AI can enhance student learning and experiences and embrace tools that support educational goals. So we've got to be open to it. I know on our campus, we have a huge spectrum, as I'm sure that you all can identify with, people who are vehemently against it, and then people who think it's the best thing that has ever been created. And I want to be somewhere in the middle. And then I want to be innovative. We know that it is a new technology and that it's an awesome technology, but we want to be able to use it as effectively and under the guise of best practice as we can as it pertains to education. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to actually do this. So these are, going forward, these are things that I've actually done, and these aren't just theoretical ideas that might work. So these are things that I've done in my class that have gone over very well. Is there a way I can turn off notification noises?
So Dillon, I'll go ahead and I'll make you not a host anymore. I just want to make sure to give you all of the sharing ability. So if we
Gotcha.
lose your screen, I'll scramble quick, okay?
Sounds good. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so it looks like we're doing good. So the AI one, AI advantage number one. So somebody in the chat said that they would like to be able to use AI to analyze data, analyze large data sets. So I'm going to talk about how we're going to use AI, the specific data that we're going to collect, and then how to use AI to analyze the data to help with differentiated instruction. But even on a broader term, I used a lot of different AI tools when I was writing my dissertation, and I did a qualitative dissertation. So I got a lot of interviews done and a lot of quotes and a lot of just qualitative data to mine through. And AI did an incredible job of helping me and assisting me in that process. So it is very good at identifying trends and doing some coding if you are familiar with qualitative data. So step one is to know our students best. We should gather data on them. So something that I do is I have them I have them do a learning profile survey at the beginning of the semester, every semester. So what does this look like? I'm going to collect a digital learning style inventories, and then I'm going to use AI to automate the analysis of this. AI powered observation tools are going to be then created, and then I'm going to give students a lot of choices based on the data that I collect through this learning profile. So what do we want to collect? We want to collect learning preferences and styles, communication needs, physical cognitive abilities, motivational factors, and social emotional considerations as well. So here's an example of a survey. So very basic. It got kicked out, didn't it? Yes, it did. So let's do this. Bang. Present something else. Student learning. There we go. So here's a very basic survey that I've used. So I get their name, the grade level, learning preferences. I learn best when, and then they will check one of these. When learning something new, I prefer step by step, see the big picture first, try it myself. Communication and support. How do they want to be communicated with? When I need help, how do they want to be helped? Working preferences, group activity feelings, if you will. What learning environment is best for them. And then this is the part that I'm really going to be focusing on, is showing what I know. So multiple means of representation. How I can best show what I've learned through written tests or quizzes, projects or presentations, talking about it, demonstrating, or a collection of work. The additional supports, some open-ended options, what motivates me, and then they can submit that, and then I can get that data in a spreadsheet. Cool. Okay. So from data, now we then need to transition to action. So now we need to create class learning profiles. And based on all the data that I just collected in that survey, I'm going to use AI, specifically the tool that I'm highlighting today is Claude by Anthropic. I'm going to use Claude to help me analyze all the data and then make a class learning profile that I can then use to help create differentiated instruction, but also create multiple assessment options that students can then choose from based on what they think they can use or what they think will help best represent their current knowledge of the content. So process from the student survey. And now, again, I am in the adaptive physical education world. So a lot of the students that I would be using this with in the K-12 setting might not be able to actually do the survey themselves. So in that case, pairs could do it. The special ed coordinator could do it, or their parents could do it. Obviously, we're going to advocate for the student as much as possible to be the one filling this out, because ultimately the student is the one who knows themselves the best. But if they can't do it for whatever reason, parents can do it for them as well. Transfer the data to Google Sheets or Excel. Upload to an AI tool for analysis. Like I said, I'd be using Claude, and then we can generate a comprehensive class profile. So again, like I said, I've done this a couple times now, and it has been incredibly effective, but I'm going to use a hypothetical example here just to keep my students' data safe. If it will actually let me. Okay, so here's an example. Once all the data has been mined, here's an example of what it might spit out to me so I can make educated and informed decisions based on what my students need. So let's say I had a class of 26 students, 73% preferred multimodal learning, 81% preferred step-by-step instructions, and 4 students needed extra processing time. Then I can look at a more detailed breakdown of that data: primary learning preferences, kinesthetic, all modalities, visual only, kinesthetic only, communication preferences. This is the part that will really inform my instructional methods. It'll give me some key insights, working preferences, and social dynamics. So if we look here in this example group, 13% or 13 students rather preferred working in small groups. Some preferred working in small groups. Some preferred working by themselves. 15 students love group work. 7 students are neutral about it. And there's a couple that don't like it. So that tells me a whole bunch about their social engagement. And then assessment and demonstration preferences. So now we're going to talk about how to inform our assessment creation prompts, which we're going to talk about in a second. 17 students said that they preferred demonstration. 11 preferred projects, 9 liked to talk about it, and 8 preferred written tests. Processing time, individual supports needed. This would take that qualitative short answer type data and would give you a breakdown of that data. And then evidence-based ideas and strategies that Claude is going to then give me for examples. And then Claude also gave me a specific prompt that I could use for this class based on this data that I could then copy and paste based on the lesson that I was teaching that day. Pretty cool stuff. Not what I wanted. There we go. Okay. You've collected all this data. You get all this information. Then what? The nice thing about this is you only have to do it one time at the beginning of the semester for each class. But what I have found is a lot of times the assessment differentiations that you create are going to be applicable for every class, because every assessment that I'm doing currently has 3 options that students can choose from as a means of representation for the content. Meaning, probably after 4 iterations of this, enough representation of student diversity has been collected that the assessment types that I have created will be applicable for any learner type, if that makes sense. So if you have a lot of classes, this could be daunting, thinking you got to do this for each and every class. For sure, I get that. But if you do it really good one time for a whole bunch of classes, the content that you're going to be able to produce is going to be applicable for almost every learning style. Okay, so the way that I have gone about doing this then is making multiple assessments and having multiple assessment options that all can be scored using the same rubric. So this is the thing that I am probably the most proud of. Is I don't like making rubrics. I'll say it. I'm sure you all can commiserate with me. But I wanted one rubric that I could use to score every assessment option. So that's what I have had Claude help me create. Share this tab instead. So again, we're going to talk through the lens of physical education, because that is my area. So basketball skills assessment options based on a class profile that I put into here, based on the needs, the learning styles, the learning types, the ways that they prefer to show knowledge representation. Here are the different options that me and Claude worked together with to create. So at the end of let's say the basketball, if that is our tool for teaching, whatever content we're teaching, at the end of the basketball unit, they can select either a video portfolio, a peer teaching session, a skill analysis project, performance demonstration, game design challenge, traditional assessment. And then all of these 6 options can all be scored using this one rubric right here, which is pretty sweet. It's going to tell me why for each student, what they might lean towards. what they might use. And then for whatever reason, if I didn't like the assessments that were created, here's a prompt that Claude made for me to help tweak the assessment options. Now, this is hypothetical. I'm going to go ahead and show you one that I have actually done. So in my physical education assessment and program evaluation class, here is an example of an output in a document that I've created for one assignment. This is the second assignment of the semester, and is going to start to include things of peer review, stuff like that. So before, this is going to give Claude is very good at providing very detailed descriptions. So what I usually do when I'm in the creation portion of all of this is I'll just pull up Microsoft Word and I'll put the dictation feature on, and I'll just start talking about what I want this to look like. So I'll just say, here's the assignment. Here's my idea of the assignment. Here are the main elements of the content that I want them to show proficiency in. Here are the things that they need to know. And then I'll include in my prompt the document with the class learning profile. And I'll say, based on the attached learning profile, can you please create 3 different assessment options that students can choose from that can all be scored using the same rubric that show proficiency in what I've just described? Go. And then from there, it's a workshop between me and Claude to help really drill down on the areas that I want them to be able to show proficiency in. So for this, there's 3 options, and then each option has a couple sub options as well. So for this, I want them to be able to understand basic terminology, like distinguish between test, measurement, evaluation, assessment, the difference between norm and criterion reference tests and standards, stuff like that. So assignment overview, here's a detailed assignment overview. I use a stoplight policy in my class for AI usage on the part of the students. So I'm sure you have all heard of it. Green is you can use AI however you want. Yellow is you can only use the AI tools that I specify within the assignment details. And then red is you can't use it at all. So here's the policy for this specific assessment, the peer review process that they're going to be using, and then we're going to get into the assessment options. So assessment option 1, concept analysis, application and analysis. So they can do a case study. Option 2, program development critique. And then notice each one of these options has very in-depth examples as well. Option 1C, reflective practice journal with AI proofing requirements, meaning they have to talk about specific things that we talked about in class that AI could never know about. So that was 3 options within option 1. Option 2, practical skill demonstration and justification. So this is a video, or this could be a video, or they could design a testing tool or protocol. Differentiated process and data collection. So again, they're going to be creating a specific data assessment tool that is not necessarily norm referenced. And then 3 is an authentic assessment in action. That's option 2. There's option 3 as well. But as you can see, there's a lot of content here. There's a lot of options that students can choose from to best represent their learning styles. But also, the detail is super in-depth, and the where is it here? The detail is super in-depth, but also the examples are super in-depth. Going down here more, we have the rubrics that is going to be used depending on the option that they select. One of the options needs a little bit more in-depth rubric, but again, this is my highest level of undergrad class, so that makes sense that the rubrics might have to be just a little bit different. And then just a whole bunch of information that they could have or ever need to complete this assignment. So again, this is 7 pages of stuff that would have taken me probably most of my summer to really nail down right. And I did this in an afternoon. So the key benefits, like I just said, I did that in an afternoon. This is going to reduce planning time significantly. There are lots of citations that I could put behind this to show this, but the one of my favorite ones is from a study conducted on specifically qualitative analysis coding, and an analysis, and coding takes a long time if you've ever done qualitative data, because you have to read every transcript, code everything that has been said in that transcript. It takes forever. But when AI is used to help it, it reduces it by 75%, and it helped me so much during my dissertation process. It provides evidence-based differentiation strategies. Something that I like to do when I'm using AI is once it gives me the output, I will say, okay, this is a great output, but you tell me how you went about collecting the data for this output. And then I'll just read through that quick to make sure that all the citations that it references are actually real and not hallucinated. This will scale personalization to the entire class. For students, receives instructions that match learning style. So again, this was just an example looking at assessment creation. But if you're looking at instructional creation as well, you can use the same process. Experience appropriate challenge levels, because again, they can select the challenge by choice model, right? They can select the option that is most beneficial for them. Now, if I have a really, really good writer in my class who doesn't like to present, I'm probably going to challenge that student once or twice to select the presentation option, just to help them get out of their comfort zone a little bit. This is going to also foster and develop independence through choice. I want my students' classroom to actually be their classroom and not mine. I want them to feel like they have control of their learning. And I think a really good way to help drive that point home is giving them options to select how they show their learning. One of the first things I say to my students in every semester is I care significantly more about you than I do about the grade you get in my class. And every time I say that, they can't believe it. And then the student's going to feel valued and understood significantly more because they feel like they have choice. We all just want to have choices. Okay, so I asked Claude, I shared this presentation with him, and I said, now what are your thoughts? I said specifically, now is your time to show off a little bit. Tell me why you think you would be a good tool for this type of work. And these are the three main points. I synthesized it a little bit. But these are the three main points that it gave me. One, Claude works well for educators because it processes complex student data and identifies patterns. And you can also select a FERPA compliant option with Claude, so student data remains safe. Generates multiple differentiation strategies simultaneously, adapts to your specific context and constraints, maintains conversation memory for iterative improvement, and provides a detailed explanation of pedagogical reasoning. Something that I like to do when I'm using Claude in this kind of work is I will upload a article, or like a foundational article, to help set the bedrock for what I'm trying to do. I said, based on the article that I shared, please help me differentiate instruction for XYZ students based on the student profile that I've attached. Number two, it says it can create student-specific support plans. So again, you got to be careful, but from what I have looked at most recently, specifically Claude Education is going to be is FERPA compliant. Magic School is also another tool that's FERPA compliant. But anytime you're working with IEP documentation, you got to be careful. But if you just copy and paste IEP goals, that's totally fine because there's no specific student data within those IEP goals. So you can upload an IEP goal and say, help me create a lesson plan that will further achievement toward this IEP goal for this student. Request behavior intervention ideas, generate communication scripts for difficult conversation with parents. And then intelligent document processing, modify existing materials, create visual supports and graphic organizers, and develop scaffolded activity progressions. Okay, so there are 3 prompts that I use very frequently in the kind of work that I have been talking about today. So I wanted to share those with you. prompting is probably the most important skill that you can have when you're working with AI, second only to content validation. If you don't have good prompts, the outputs are going to be subpar, which is why I tell and this is a little bit tangential, but this is why content matter expertise will always be important, because AI is just an assistant for now. And I do a lot of grading of my students' prompts as well. So they can only prompt things in which they know about. So a lot of times if they do a green AI assessment, they're going to have to submit the prompts that they used to get the data that they use in the assessment. That will tell me so much more about what the student knows on the content than just grading the output that AI generated. Tangent over. So here are, like I said, 3 prompts that I have found beneficial when I'm doing this type of work. Again, I will link the this presentation into the chat so you will have it. And then Dave, maybe you can broadcast that out to everybody at a later point. Okay, so that is the content overview. And then I have one plug. So I am a editorial board member for Essays in Education. We have a special edition of AI in Education coming out in June. And we are a practitioner-based journal. So any of you are invited and encouraged to write an article about your best practices that you have been using in your educational endeavors. And being published is always fun. So we get a lot of traffic. We get a lot of downloads. If that is something that you would be interested in, all of the suggested topics are here, guidelines, how to submit. If you submit something to us, our goal is to publish you. So have that in mind. So this little plug is on the presentation that you will get linked as well. And then thank you, everybody. Like I said, my name is Dillon. I'm a professor at Winona State University. The link for the handout is at the end of this presentation. And a little aside, all of the little things that I went to during the presentation. So like when I showed you this right here, or when I showed you, here, let me just show you the handout. Oh, it's not gonna let me. It's being weird. But all of these little web pages Claude created for me as well. So instead of saying create a PDF, I just say create a web page based on this data. Spits out a really nice web page for you because I can't code. So, but Claude can. Okay.
Yeah, Dylan, this was such a great session. From many of us who can't code to those of us who learned how to code just because we wanted MySpace to look cool. I think that being able to see how AI helps us do things in different ways is such an amazing practice. I'm sure you weren't able to keep up with like the reactions and the chat, but outpouring praise to the work that you shared today. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, everybody.
Emails and seeing it in the chat. What we're going to do is we're going to do a real small preview of what empathy interviews are. So I'm going to be interviewing you on 2 questions, but I'm not going to have any judgment on what you say. I'm going to be listening more than I'm talking. I'm going to be really curious. So I might ask poking or prodding questions to help uncover more. I'm also going to encourage you to share examples through this time. And then, while I'm not going to do this right now, when we do empathy interviews, we capture exact words and phrases. We want those quotes, those moments as accurate as we can. And so as I was thinking about what you shared, I was wondering if you could tell me a time when you saw AI being used in teaching, learning, or student support outside of your classroom, not by you, and what happened.
Do you say a
Yeah,
time?
so when AI was being used in either a teaching or learning or student support scenario at Winona, but I don't want it to be your experience. I want it to be something that you've seen.
I'm going to be on a couple different dissertation committees coming up. And the tool PaperPal is something that a lot of the professors who are on dissertation committees use, and it is such a cool tool. PaperPal is awesome because if you were to use Claude, for example, to help you with writing, if you uploaded a writing sample, you say, act as a co-editor with me and make modification suggestions, it'll do it. But PaperPal actually is an AI add-in for Microsoft Word, and it works with the actual document with you, and it will show areas of correction that is needed, and it will actually tell you why the areas of correction are needed. So I had another professor who was a very good writer kind of walk me through using that. And then not only am I using AI to better my writing, better my students' writing now, but also I'm learning why it's becoming better. And it's been a very powerful tool.
I appreciate that you pulled in that last piece around you learning why that's happening. What was there any conversation, or are you familiar with any conversations in that dissertation relationship around the mentors talking about the why when AI is used?
Yes. So
a yes can be good in this piece. You're not in those meetings also, but
right.
you've got that good gut reaction that it's happening. I want to model one other piece that I think is really might resonate with you. Is there a time or what have you heard from educators or leaders or students say about artificial intelligence that's kind of stuck out? And this can be good, bad, malicious, praise, any of the above, none of the above. Just an authentic perspective that you've heard others share.
Can I ruffle some feathers?
Please.
So I think one of the most abrasive takes that I've been hearing is that is going to just make students dumb and make students lazy. And I think that if a teacher is experiencing that, it's more of a reflection of their ability to elicit the desire of learning from their students than it is anything else. Mainly because, like I said, I'm telling my students that I care more about them than I do about the grade that they get in my class. I'm also highly encouraging AI use, and I'm teaching them and giving them full authority to use it in a way that they deem beneficial under my guidelines. So the idea that students are just going to use it to cheat to get an A, you're probably having improper motivational tactics within your class. But also try to encourage them that you are here to get an education, to really know the content, to become an expert in the content if you're in the higher ed realm. If you're in the K-12 realm, it's more difficult because they have to be there. But try to find a way to make it meaningful for them. And then they're going to be excited to use AI tools. And then it is a very powerful tool to increase critical thinking, because have them analyze an output, and that's huge. Have them analyze why they chose the prompt that they chose. Have them analyze somebody else's prompt and ask them what could be better or what they liked about the prompt that the other student chose and wrote. Critical thinking will be enhanced because we have so much more access to information. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, amazing, Dillon. Not only, I think part of our planning that went into this was how can we model some elements of empathy interviews while also giving you some really good divergent things to talk through that came through in your presentation. But these last two questions just really reinforced why you're here today with us, doing a practitioner showcase, a tool highlight modeled into one. So thank you so much for your time today. We would absolutely appreciate any materials that call for papers to be sent. You can send those directly to me and I'll circulate them back to the MNGAIA leadership. Right now, I'm going to invite you to stay, attend, and be a part of the community for the rest of the time as long as you're able. But I'm going to be passing it off over to Jen and Amanda. And we do have screen sharing for everybody, but I can drive also if we need to.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. And Dave, thank you so much for the invitation. I hope it was meaningful for anybody. I hope you took something away. And like my email is at the end of that presentation. I love talking about this stuff if you can't tell. So please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to help and learn from you guys in any way that I can. So thank you all.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Well, that was absolutely incredible. So thank you so much, Dillon. That I'm just excited to dig into the resources and, some of the things that I'm going to share today, like that is what, our educators are asking for. So I just want to verify, can everybody see my screen? Okay, great. So this came across my LinkedIn profile a while ago. In August, and it basically says that MIT reports that 95% of generative AI pilots at companies are failing. And when you go into the deep dive of it, it's not because of the tech that's not working. It's because it isn't connected to real human needs or workflows. And I think when we look at AI as a tool and not think about what is it that we need from it. And a lot of the PD, when we first started out as a district, a lot of the PD was all tool-based. Oh, look at what you can do, with all of these different tools. And it really wasn't based on the needs of our end users. And so this is really a timeless lesson. This was some research back in the 70s, and it was the single most decisive factor distinguishing successful from failed innovation was whether user needs were understood. And so, I've been in education for 30 years. This was my 30th first day of school this year. I've seen the internet. I've seen mobile. I've seen devices. I've seen Web 2.0. Thanks for all the love. I appreciate it. And every time something has come out, it's always about the tool. And you know what? For many of our educators and many of our administrators, for many of our districts, tools don't engage. What engages is how the tool can support our learners. And what I just seen from you, Dillon, is a perfect example of how we could support our learners in a better, more efficient way by using AI. And so I think that's something to really consider and think about. So something that has been around for a while, but a useful process, I feel, is design thinking. And it's all based on really developing products, processes, solutions based on the needs of our users. Begins with empathy, understanding the user's needs and challenge. You have to then define, what are the problems that we're having? Because lots of times when we hear problems, it really isn't the problem. For instance, the critical thinking, that Dillon just referenced. That's a big thing. Like, it's going to ruin the critical thinking. But is that truly the problem? Is it fear? Is it, what are the challenges that our educators are having? And then you ideate. That's my favorite. Like, come up with ideas that you can do to serve our end users, and build simple models to explore and then test them. So pilots and those kinds of things have always been around, but it's really what I love about design thinking is it starts with empathy, and that is key. So with empathy and in understanding the needs of our users, there's several ways to do this. One is through interviews. One is through observations. There's also shadowing. If you recall a few years ago, that was shadow a student for the day, where you would go through what does that look like for a student, in our system, and really thinking about the students that, might be, struggling in school. Like, what does it look like for them? And I remember doing this with just, watching, and a student light up in one class, but just be very, dismissed, just kind of quiet and, not engaged at all in another class. And it just made me wonder why. There's journey mapping, where you take a profile of somebody and think about from K-12. We just did this at the summit. We went from K-20. Like, what does an experience look like from a student from high school to higher ed to workforce? And, where is the baton being dropped between these different organizations? And then artifacts review. So that's where you can really assess, look at the works that's being created. And today we're going to focus in on interviews. We're going to try this, and hopefully it works great, but we've never done empathy interviews to this scale. We have right now 59 people in the room, and we're going to try it because we want you to experience it, but then we also want you to share your thoughts and ideas to help MNGAIA better support you and the needs that you have. So here's an example of what was done, what I did with our school district, or specifically our middle school. And so what Dave had, demonstrated is you're just asking questions, and you're not asking questions with judgment. You're listening, learning, and so was able to utilize and really find like where are the pain points that our teachers are having. Number one is grading. So anything that can help those kinds of things are important. And then there was some other things. But what you don't see on this sheet is also the feels that they had: fear, challenge, frustration, hopeful. And so sometimes the emotions that we have to things, like we have to really think about how do we tackle those before we just roll out another initiative. So from that work, I paired up with our special ed director, and we actually created sessions at each of our different schools about accommodating, modifying lessons and utilizing AI. And this was for the greater that, every teacher has seen this. And so it was kind of twofold. It's like, here you can get your accommodate, modify CEU, but then we can also swizzle in, like, here's how, we can have, AI help support you and better support your students. Yesterday, we just kicked off our one of our final ones at our preschool. And within preschool, it's like nano banana for preschool teachers. Like, you think about all of the imaging and stuff that they're using in their classrooms, and how when they differentiate, they have to use images or songs or some of those other things. And like, I was just curious because my forte is more secondary, but like, it was so great to see the preschool teachers just light up. But here's the deal, like, we are designing things based on what they need, not just what we think they need, what our educators need, and tailoring in the PD to really make sure it's impactful. And I think that's, as I reflect on my 30 years of experience, I think we're rushed too quick to go to the tool when we really need to find out what are those challenges, what are the pain points that teachers have, and then bring the tool in to show how it can really showcase and support them. So everybody has a story. Conversations, first and foremost, go way deeper than any survey. So the thing that I shared with you, I did use some survey data because, just how much they use AI, I just wanted to know. But we have to really focus in on their experience. There's real life experiences, their emotion, their needs, their observations. And so the surveys give you data points, where empathy interviews give you stories and insights that you can't get from anywhere else. Now, do you need to get a story from everybody? No, you can just get a small group, a PLC, to really just sit and listen. One of the tools that I use Google Transcribe, so I don't have to necessarily take all the notes, even though we're going to do that today. And then you can utilize AI to help synthesize that and summarize that. So our focus today is because you all haven't had all of the experience of being in an empathy interview, we just want you to experience and draw out the information about what's happening in our classrooms, in operations, in the culture around AI, and you just bring in those insights. So a couple of must-haves. These are some best practices. So you really want to eliminate any judgment, right? So everybody is where they are, their story is theirs, and you're just listening and learning. You want to listen more than you talk. I have sometimes, when I'll sit in meetings, for instance, when Dillon was talking, I'm like, I just want to chime in. I want to ask him a whole bunch of questions. And you just want to listen, take the time to listen. And you can ask deeper questions, but it's not about we want to really listen and observe and learn from each other, not just trying to get, your information out there. Be curious. Follow-ups are definitely important, because you really want to make sure as you're documenting, like, did you mean this? Or, asking clarifying questions, but that's the role we have to take. And then encouraging examples. Examples are always super, helpful, and it helps us understand, what's going on. And then if you can, you don't have to capture everything, but jot down, what they're saying, not necessarily your interpretation unless you clarify with them. But that's pretty much what we're going to try today. So our focus, what's happening in the classrooms, operations, cultures around AI, share your stories and example, listen without judgment, and capture what was shared. So you'll have to figure out and assign, and Amanda will probably share that too. Like, we got to figure out who's going to be capturing while the other person's talking. And then I really want to land with, as MNGAIA, our strength is in our collective voices. These empathy sessions are how we begin, human-centered, statewide, and grounded in real stories. So I'd like to start there, and I'm going to pass the baton. Are you ready? Pass the baton over to Amanda.
Well, thanks, Jen. I put a link in the chat for you that is to our empathy interview activity for today. And we are going to get started with that. So I'm going to share that with you so we can look at that together. So in this doc, what you're going to see, this first page is the directions for the activity, which really Jen has gone through, and I don't want to try to reread the page for you so that we can have a maximum amount of time for you to share and hear stories. The idea is that you reflect on your experience, that you prepare those stories. We're really thinking about those goals, obstacles, and tools, your feelings, and how that goes. To engage in our breakout groups today, I think it looks like we'll probably have between 35 and 40 minutes to meet with our groups. And we're going to try to put you into groups of about 4. We're so overwhelmed, like ecstatic that we have so many participants, because we were like, maybe we can be in every group, but we're going to pop through each group the best we can. But you're a little bit going to help support each other by asking and responding to the questions. So one way that you might do that, and your group is free to make a choice that works best for you, is you could go start by who's going to ask and answer the first question is alphabetical order by your favorite AI tool. So if my favorite AI tool is Claude and your favorite AI tool is Gemini, then I'm going to go first, and I'll ask the question, and then we'll hear from everybody. And you can find another way to pick order as well. Try to capture everything that's happening the best that you can. You might try using tools and voice typing and see how well it can do, because that will gather the most accurate description, but it'll have grammatical problems, and that's okay. And then we're going to just do our best to capture those insights. So when you get to a breakout group, we're going to put you in there now. Again, probably about 35 minutes so that we have some time to come back as a whole group and do a little reflection and share out. And after so that when you get to your breakout group, it should tell you what group number you're in, and then you can use the tabs on the side to navigate to your group. Oh, at the very top, will you please start with an introduction and then enter your name, your role, and your location.
Yeah.
Okay, here's where we're at right now. I'm pausing a little bit to let people wrap up any other thoughts. If you transcribed anything and you want to paste it into your group, now's the time to do that. And then I'm going to take over sharing so you can see what I'm up to over here. And we'll see if I can do this as good as I could at one point. All right, so this is the shared doc. And what Dave discovered is if you are a Google Workspace and you're using these tabs in Google Docs, which is pretty awesome because you can create one solid database, but they're kind of a pain in the butt if you want to look at if you want to do an aggregate view of the entire document, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. We took the long way here and wrote an app script called Tab Manager that just really copied everything from the entire document into one page. Dave figured out an easier way to do this, which is what I'm going to show you now. So if you go in to get the aggregate, we're going to go to File and then Share and then Publish to the web. And this link, we look at this link then. This link is now the entire doc with all of our wonderful sharing in it all in one spot. So cool, because now we can see it all in one place. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this, and I'm just going to print it as a PDF because I want to be able to use this. Yeah, I'm going to replace it. And the other part that I was going to share, I have to find. Here it is. Here it is. You have no idea how many Chrome windows I have open right now.
I think I can relate.
I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back to this sharing. This is my, no big deal. This is just my 3rd or 4th or 6th Google account. Okay. This is Gemini. And you'll note that my Gemini says a MNGAIA companion. And what I have been really excited about lately is leaning into the world of gems. This is the same as GPTs. The equivalent is projects in Claude. They all have this equivalent approach, which lets you give it a narrowed set of instructions and a narrowed knowledge base. And so I'll just show you in this one for the MNGAIA companion. I focused on this meeting. I asked it to sympathize our empathy interview notes into a statewide themes, because we're going to use all of this information now to help create MNGAIA's pathway going forward. This is the genius of the world of AI, is we get to take all of these people in these discussions right now and actually process them into action steps in a point. So I asked it to do that, and then I gave it some knowledge. And so I took the MNGAIA vision and values and put those into a document. So that is always a litmus test that is going to use as its knowledge base. And then for this one, I just used the UNESCO student and teacher competencies, because I thought they give really good language around AI. So anyway, that's what I did. And then because of that, I'm going to go ahead and upload this file. Good golly, now hopefully I can find it. Oh, there it is. It's a 50-50 shot. This is the right one, or this is one that I've named the same thing 30 times. So here we go. I'm just going to give it a poor prompt. I feel bad because Tyler Moberg, if he's still here, he's going to watch me do this and be like, that's not how you prompt. I know, Tyler, I'm getting better. I'm just going to start really simple. Synthesize some findings for me. And then I'm going to hit enter. I can tell you guys, do you know that you can just hit enter on a keyboard? And that, okay, weird tech tips. All right. So then we have, I don't know, I can make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Bridging the knowledge and mindset gap. This will all, someone had asked, Jeremy, I think you had asked, everything that we do in these Friday sessions, the group of us that are helping to get this started, you'll be invited as well. We will process this. We're going to do a little bit of production work on the other end to get you all of this information. So really what I just wanted to share was with a little bit, I am big into the gems right now. So I have a bunch of different gems. I've got a leadership gem that has 4 different roles in it. It's either an advisor, a mentor, a thought partner, or a devil's advocate. And then number 5, I said, or you can tell me a role that's better that fits. So every time I'm trying to do something around leadership, I use that gem and I just start there. And then it creates that thought partner collaboration. Or I said advisor, like I just want to hear. The mentor one is actually pretty fun for me because I described a couple of people, well, they may be on the call, John Weiser and Steve Butner, who really helped impact my life. And I kind of made them like act like these people that I liked for the mentorship. And so it leads me to these great discussions. It's been funny to listen to all of us anthropomorphize. I can't say it. I'm a language arts teacher. Don't hold me accountable. All of this, it's just the machine, right? Like it isn't a person. I'm the one that's managing my experience on this. I'm the one that's giving it specific set of instructions. I'm the one that is actively, that's why I like GEMS, actively going in and tuning my experience so that I have a leadership gem. I have a tech department gem that has our tech department in there. I've got a district gem that has our district mission in there. And so I am taking responsibility for tuning my experiences with AI so that I have the time to take the knowledge and experiences I have and share them with other people. I had this, I'll just share this final insight that I had last night when I was driving to my daughter's soccer game. I've been in the tech integration world for a while, and I always do this is the tool, and I want to make sure people know how to use the tool. So step 1, step 2, step 3. And that takes a lot of thinking about like, okay, how am I going to explain how to share a Google Doc? I'm old enough that I had to explain that, right? And that part of it, thinking about what are the steps that somebody would need to know, was a cognitive load to the part of the experience. The real thing that I wanted to spend time on is why would you do it? What's the collaborative nature and the advantage you're getting out of this? What might you do when you're doing this with students? What are some things to look for? Now that I have AI, I can break down that cognitive part, the steps part. I can get that off my plate quicker. And then now what I'm spending more time on is the why part. And I get to put more, this is the thing that I actually care about. The tools are a vehicle for me to share the why. And so an AI, to make that process shorter for me, the purpose is not to make it easier. It's to give me more mental space to share the why. And so I've been having that experience lately, and it's been pretty great. So,
Sean, are you able to share this out? Like, can you get a?
Oh yeah, let me see. Oh yeah, let's keep you guys. That's a good idea. I'm going to go to the canvas now. Make this into an awesome. I don't know if that matters. Tyler here. Awesome infographic. I just turned on the canvas tool. Jeremy, you should unmute and share what you guys have coming up, because they're integrate this. Jeremy, unmute. Tell people about this.
Yeah, really quick, and then I've got to jump off because we're actually doing another interview for a later podcast that'll be coming out. But this next, yesterday and then next Thursday, the Integrate This podcast has some tutorial style updates for these Gemini tools that Sean is using, like Canvas, as well as the Nano Banana and what else? The guided learning. And there's one more in there. I don't have it open in front of me. I'm probably forgetting. But just some of the things that you can do with Canvas are just really, really fantastic. So check that out. You can find us Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Just search for Integrate This. Thanks for the plug.
One of the goals that we have as MNGAIA is to connect. We have so much talent in this state. We really have a ton of talent in this state. I have had the great pleasure of working in education in this state since late in the last century. So many talented people. A goal of MNGAIA is to connect those talents so that people from all over the state can learn from each other. Jeremy is doing amazing work and has for a long time. And so I'm happy to plug that. All right, well, here's the thing then. It created this cool little infographic now.
Wow.
And, you know, like, if you need to explain something visually, I did a deep research, said, tell me the ways that Gemini should be used in education. And then after it does that, I just flip it around to a visual. And just because we have one more second left, I'll go show you, like, what I'm doing these days is I'm copying that code. I am a Google Workspace district, so I'm going into Google Sites. And if you create a page in Google Sites and you make one of these embed pages, you just take that code, paste it in here, hit next, insert, and now I have a page on my Google site from our conversation to Gemini to this in this time that we did. And I'm going to share this as is and you guys can see how it is, and just think like the tuning I did with this was in the gem part of it, right? So in the instructions that I gave in the gem, it was pre-prompt for some of this. I have not reviewed this, and I have not reviewed the empathy interviews. So I don't know exactly how accurate this is yet, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, because you can do the critical work that was being talked about earlier. Like, we should do a critical analysis. How did this do to capture our work? So we'll send this artifact, the summary that Gem and I did for the empathy, and all of that with you at the end, or in a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. I just dropped in the chat an exit ticket that we want you all to take. And in that, when you finish the exit ticket, you will get a prompt that will allow you to copy and paste a prompt into your favorite chat tool, and it will do your own empathy interview. Of course, it's AI, so they really are not empathizing, but it's really cool example of a scenario-based prompt that you can use. So I'd love for you to try that out. But if you could finish that, if you could complete that, that'd be great. And we want to thank you all for attending today. I know there was some technical difficulties. We're going to get better at these kinds of things, but hopefully, you found some things that inspired you, or, ideas to take back to your classrooms or schools or colleges. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for participating today. And I'm super excited to dig into the empathy interview work that you did, because I think that's the kind of information we need to be better at a state level. Any questions?
Just do a quick round of applause for Jen, Dave, and Amanda. They really did all of the work to get this together today. So this is what we're hoping to provide for you all once a month. And we look forward to your practitioner examples too. So be in touch. Here's the page that I created. There you go. And see.
Jen, Dave, Amanda, thank you so much. This was great. I can't wait to see what we got next. I think the learning that we're going to do from everyone on this call together, like I said in the very beginning, the collective intelligence in this room is just pretty phenomenal, and it's going to be a great year. So thanks for coming, everyone. I think we're at 12 o'clock, aren't we? Close. I don't know if any of you FCOs, you Chief Fierce Collaboration Officers, want to hang around for a minute.
I'll go ahead and I'll stop the recording then.
Okay.
Yeah. And everybody,